The phone call came at 7:43 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. I was getting ready for work, drinking my coffee, when an unknown number flashed on my screen. Ms. Natalie Richardson, a woman's voice asked. Yes, this is she. This is Jennifer from Chase Bank Collections. I'm calling regarding your seriously delinquent account. You're currently 90 days past due on your mortgage payment for the property at 2847 Elmwood Drive. If we don't receive payment within 48 hours, we'll be forced to begin foreclosure proceedings. I stood there, coffee cup halfway to my mouth, completely confused. I'm sorry, there must be some mistake. I don't have a mortgage. I rent an apartment, according to our records. You took out a $280,000 mortgage in 2019 for a property in Greensboro. The payments have been sporadic for the past 2 years and have stopped completely in the last 3 months. That's impossible. I've never taken out a mortgage. I've never even been to Greensboro. There was a pause. Ms. Richardson, are you saying you didn't apply for this loan? I'm saying I have no idea what you're talking about. I'm going to transfer you to our fraud department. Please hold. As I waited on hold, my mind raced. A mortgage in my name. How was that possible? When the fraud specialist came on the line and started asking questions, my social security number, my mother's maiden name, my date of birth, a cold realization started creeping in. There was only one other person who would know all that information. My sister. My name is Natalie Marie Richardson. I'm 37 years old. And for the past 10 years, my younger sister, Melissa, has been systematically destroying my financial life while I had no idea it was happening. She opened credit cards in my name, took out loans, bought a car, even purchased a house using my identity, my credit, my social security number. And she did it all while I was helping her, supporting her, being the good big sister our parents always told me to be. When I finally discovered what she'd done, the damage was catastrophic. My credit score was destroyed. I owed over $400,000 in debt I never incurred. Collections agencies were calling me daily, and worst of all, my own parents defended her, told me to work it out as sisters, and accused me of being vindictive when I went to the police. This is the story of how my sister committed identity theft against me for a decade, how she nearly destroyed my entire life, and how I fought back not just for myself, but for everyone who's ever been victimized by someone they trusted. If you've ever had a family member steal from you, if you've been told to forgive someone who's never apologized, if you've been expected to protect someone who destroyed you, then maybe you'll understand my story. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina, the older of 2 daughters. My parents, Robert and Linda Richardson, were middle-class. Dad worked as an insurance agent, Mom as an elementary school secretary. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Melissa was born when I was 5. From the beginning, she was the baby, the favorite, the one who could do no wrong. I don't say that with bitterness. Melissa was charming, outgoing, pretty. She knew how to work people, especially our parents. I was the responsible one, the one who got good grades, followed the rules, never caused problems, which meant I got less attention, less praise. Natalie will be fine, Mom would say. She's so capable. But Melissa needs extra help. Melissa always needed extra help, extra money, extra chances, extra forgiveness. When Melissa was 16, she stole Mom's credit card and charged $2,000 at the mall. Mom cried, Dad lectured, but they paid it off and chalked it up to teenage rebellion. When Melissa was 19, she wrote bad checks using Dad's account. They covered them and made her promise never to do it again. When Melissa was 22, she borrowed my car and totaled it while driving drunk. My insurance rates went through the roof, but Mom said she made a mistake. You have to forgive family. There was always an excuse, always a justification, always, but she's your sister. I went to college at UNC Charlotte, got a degree in accounting, and started working at a firm in uptown Charlotte. I was making decent money, not rich, but stable. I rented a small one-bedroom apartment, drove a used Toyota, lived within my means. Melissa, meanwhile, was finding herself. She'd dropped out of community college. After one semester, worked sporadic retail jobs, and lived at home with our parents until she was 25. When she finally moved out, it was because she'd met a guy who was going to change everything. They moved in together after dating for 3 months. 6 months later, they were evicted. Melissa called me, crying. "Nat, I have nowhere to go. Derek left me. Can I stay with you? Just for a little while?" I said yes, because that's what big sisters do. She moved into my one-bedroom apartment, sleeping on my couch. Just for a few weeks, turned into 6 months. During that time, I supported her financially. I paid for groceries, utilities, even gave her gas money when she claimed to be looking for work. "I'll pay you back as soon as I get on my feet," she always said. She never did. When Melissa was 27, she met another gay. They dated long distance for a few months. Then he asked her to move to Greensboro to be with him. "This is it, Nat. Jason's the one. He has a good job, a house. I'm finally going to have stability." I was relieved when she left. I loved my sister, but living with her had been exhausting, constantly lending money I never got back. Dealing with her drama, feeling like a parent rather than a sibling. After she moved, we talked occasionally. She'd call when she needed money for car repairs, help with bills, a loan to cover rent when Jason was between jobs. "Can you send me $500? I'll pay you back next month, I promise." I always sent it, and she never paid it back. By the time I was 32, I'd probably lent Melissa close to $15,000 over the years. But she was my sister. You help family. The morning I got that call from Chase Bank Collections, my world imploded. After being transferred to the fraud department, I spent 2 hours on the phone with them, then with the credit bureaus, then with the police. The fraud investigator at Chase pulled up the mortgage application from 2019. "Ms. Richardson, I'm looking at the application now. It has your name, your social security number, your date of birth, and your mother's maiden name, all correct?" The applicant listed employment at Morrison Accounting Firm, which is where you work. The application shows an annual income of $65,000, which is approximately correct based on what you've told me. How is that possible? I never applied for this. The application was submitted online. The verification documents, pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements were provided digitally. Everything appeared legitimate, which is why the loan was approved. But I never submitted any documents. No, but someone with access to your personal information did. Do you know anyone who would have access to your social security number, employment information, and financial documents? My sister, the sister who'd lived with me for 6 months, the sister who'd had access to my apartment, my mail, my computer, my entire life. "I need to pull my credit report," I said, my voice shaking. When I pulled my credit report an hour later, I felt physically sick. There were 17 accounts I'd never opened, for credit cards, all maxed out, totaling $47,000 in debt, 2 personal loans totaling $35,000, 1 auto loan for $28,000, 1 mortgage for $280,000, multiple utility accounts in various cities, 3 delinquent medical bills, 2 collection accounts. My credit score was 498, had been 708 3 months ago when I had checked it before. Applying for a new apartment. Total fraudulent debt in my name, $412,000. I called Melissa. She didn't answer. I called again. No answer. I texted Melissa. "I just got a call from a bank about a mortgage in Greensboro. Do you know anything about this?" She responded 3 hours later. "What? No. That's crazy. Someone must have stolen your identity. The mortgage is for the house where you live." No response. I called again. This time she answered. "Melissa, did you take out a mortgage in my name?" Silence. "Melissa." "Nat, I can explain. It's not what you think. Did you steal my identity? I didn't steal anything. You're my sister. I needed help, and I knew you wouldn't give me the money for a house, so You what? You committed fraud. You destroyed my credit. How could you do this to me? I was going to pay it back. I've been making the payments, but Jason lost his job and you've been making payments with what money? You've been calling me for loans for the past 5 years. I know, but I was struggling, and I thought if I could just get the house, everything would be better. I was going to tell you eventually. Tell me, Melissa, you committed a federal crime. You stole my identity. Don't be so dramatic. We're family. It's not like I'm some random person. I'll fix it, okay? Just don't do anything crazy. Don't do anything crazy. My credit is destroyed. I have $400,000 in debt I didn't incur. Collections agencies are calling me. The bank is threatening foreclosure. I said I'll fix it. Just give me some time. No, Melissa. I'm reporting this to the police. If you do that, I'll go to prison. Is that what you want? Your own sister in prison. I want my life back. She hung up on me. I called the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department and filed a report. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic but not particularly encouraging. Identity theft by a family member is complicated, Officer Martinez told me. You'll need to provide documentation proving you didn't consent to these accounts. The banks will investigate, but the process can take months or years. And if you want to press charges against your sister, you'll need to be prepared for the consequences. What consequences? Well, identity theft is a federal crime. If convicted, she could face years in prison. Most people aren't willing to prosecute family members to that extent. But if I don't press charges, you'll need to dispute each account individually with the creditors. Provide police reports. It's a long process. Many people find it's easier to just work it out within the family. Work it out. Those words again. But how do you work out $400,000 in fraudulent debt? I called my parents. Mom, I need to talk to you about Melissa. Oh, honey, I heard. Melissa called us crying. She made a mistake, but she didn't mean any harm. You know how she is. She didn't mean harm. Mom, she stole my identity. She ruined my credit. I owe over $400,000 because of her. It's not really your debt though, right? The banks will figure it out. It doesn't work like that until I can prove fraud, which requires prosecuting. Melissa, I'm legally responsible for this debt. Collections agencies are calling me. I can't rent a new apartment. Can't do anything because my credit is destroyed. Well, what do you want us to do about it? I want you to acknowledge how serious this is. Your daughter committed a felony against me. Natalie, don't be dramatic. Melissa made a mistake, but you don't need to ruin her life over it. She's your sister. You need to forgive her and figure this out together. Forgive her. She hasn't even apologized. She's scared. You're threatening to send her to prison? I'm not threatening anything. I filed a police report because I'm the victim of a crime. You're being vindictive. I raised you better than this. I hung up, shaking with rage and disbelief. My own mother was defending the person who destroyed my financial life. Over the next few weeks, I discovered the full extent of the damage. The mortgage wasn't the worst of it. Melissa had been systematically opening accounts in my name for at least 5 years, possibly longer. She'd opened her first credit card in my name when she was living with me, accessing my mail, photographing my documents, gathering all the information she needed. She'd used those credit cards to furnish her apartment, buy a car that she totaled and never insured properly, pay for vacations with Jason, cover rent when they couldn't pay, shop online constantly. When those cards got maxed out, she'd open new ones. When she couldn't qualify anymore, she took out personal loans. When she needed a house, she applied for falsified employment documents that showed her working at my job, earning my salary. How did she get away with this? I asked the fraud investigator at TransUnion. Identity theft by family. Members is actually quite common and difficult to detect. Family members have access to all the information needed: mother's maiden name, birth date, employment information. They know your patterns. And most people don't check their credit regularly, especially if they're not applying for loans. Your sister was careful. She made minimum payments most of the time, keeping the accounts in somewhat good standing so you wouldn't be alerted by collections calls. It's only when she stopped paying altogether that the system flagged it. The investigator walked me through the dispute process. I had to: 1. File a police report. Done. 2. File an identity theft affidavit with the FTC. 3. Send certified letters to each creditor disputing the accounts. 4. Provide documentation proving I didn't open the accounts. 5. Place fraud alerts and freezes on my credit reports. 6. Wait for each creditor to investigate 30 to 90 days each. And even then, she warned, some creditors won't remove the debt unless you press criminal charges. They need proof of fraud, and a conviction is the strongest proof. So I have to choose between clearing my name and sending my sister to prison. Unfortunately, yes, that's the reality of familial identity theft. I hired a lawyer, someone who specialized in identity theft cases. Her name was Rebecca Chen, and she was the first person who truly understood the severity of my situation. Natalie, I'm not going to sugarcoat this, she said during our first consultation. You're in a nightmare scenario. Over $400,000 in fraudulent debt, committed by a family member who your own parents are defending. This is going to be expensive, time-consuming, and emotionally brutal. What are my options? Option 1. You press full criminal charges against Melissa. She gets prosecuted, likely convicted, serves prison time. In that scenario, the debt gets removed from your credit report relatively quickly because there's a criminal conviction proving fraud. Your credit recovers in a few years, but your family relationship is destroyed, and you'll be the villain in your parents' eyes forever. Option 2. You don't press charges, but you file civil lawsuits to clear the debt. This takes much longer, possibly 5 to 10 years of fighting with each creditor individually. Some debt might never get removed. Your credit stays destroyed for years, but you avoid the family trauma of prosecution. Option 3. You do nothing. The debt stays on your credit. Collections agencies harass you. Your financial life remains destroyed. Your sister faces no consequences. Those are terrible options. Yes, they are. That's the reality of familial identity theft. The system isn't designed for situations where the criminal is someone you love. I don't love her right now, but you will again, eventually. Anger fades. Family ties are powerful. That's what makes these cases so hard. I sat with that for a moment. Would I forgive Melissa eventually? Would I regret sending her to prison? Then I thought about my ruined credit, the collections calls, the fact that I couldn't even rent a new apartment because my background check showed massive unpaid debt. I want to press charges, I said. Full criminal charges. Rebecca nodded. Okay, then let's build the case. Building the case meant documenting everything. Proving I was in Charlotte when applications were submitted in Greensboro. Showing that I didn't benefit from any of the accounts. Demonstrating that Melissa had access to my personal information. Providing evidence that she, not me, had possession of the items purchased. We pulled my work time sheets proving I was at work in Charlotte when mortgage documents were supposedly signed in Greensboro. My bank statements showing I never deposited any loan funds. Photos from Melissa's social media showing furniture and items purchased with the fraudulent credit cards. The car title showing the vehicle was registered to Melissa's address. Mortgage documents showing Melissa as the one living in the house. We had phone records showing Melissa had called the credit card companies from her phone number to make payments and ask about balances. The case was airtight. The detective assigned to the case, Detective Ramirez, was impressed. This is one of the most clear-cut identity theft cases I've seen. Your sister was sloppy. She didn't even try to Hide it once, she thought. She'd gotten away with it. When will she be arrested? We'll bring her in for questioning first. Give her a chance to confess. If she admits to it, that makes the case even stronger. Melissa was questioned 2 weeks later. I wasn't there, but Detective Ramirez filled me in afterward. She confessed to everything, claimed she didn't think it was that big of a deal because you were sisters, said she always intended to pay you back, even seemed surprised that you were pressing charges. Did she show any remorse? Not really. Mostly she seemed angry that you'd betrayed her by going to the police. I sat with that. Melissa thought I had betrayed her, not the other way around. She was arrested and charged with identity theft, 15 counts, wire fraud, 8 counts, forgery, R counts, grand larceny for counts. If convicted on all counts, she could face up to 30 years in federal prison. My parents called, hysterical. How could you do this? Mom screamed, your own sister is in jail because of you. My own sister stole my identity and destroyed my financial life. She made a mistake. People make mistakes. This wasn't a mistake, Mom. This was a decade of deliberate fraud. She didn't accidentally open 17 accounts in my name. If you don't drop the charges, you're dead to me. Do you hear me? Dead to me. Then I guess I'm dead to you. I hung up. My dad called next, calmer but no less disappointed. Natalie, I understand you're hurt, but prison, really? That's your solution? Dad, she committed crimes, plural, over many years. What should the consequence be? Family handles things within the family. How? How do I handle $400,000 in debt? How do I handle a destroyed credit score? How do I handle not being able to rent an apartment or buy a car? Melissa doesn't have that kind of money to pay you back. Exactly. So how else do I clear my name without prosecuting her? He didn't have an answer. While waiting for the trial, my life fell apart in other ways. My landlord didn't renew my lease because my credit check showed I was a financial risk. Finding a new apartment was nearly impossible. Every background check flagged the massive debt and collections accounts. I finally found a place. But I had to pay 6 months' rent up front, plus a huge security deposit to convince the landlord to take a chance on me. I couldn't finance a new car when my Toyota finally died, so I had to buy a beat-up used car with cash. I was denied for a new credit card. I'd applied for it because my credit score was so low. Collections agencies called me daily, sometimes multiple times a day. Ms. Richardson, you owe $12,482 on your Chase Sapphire card. When can we expect payment? That's a fraudulent account. I've filed a police report and an FTC complaint. You need to speak with your fraud department. We need payment today or we'll be forced to pursue legal action. This happened over and over with different agencies. Different amounts, different threats. I sent certified letters to each agency explaining the fraud, providing police report numbers, requesting validation of debt. Some complied, many didn't. My mental health suffered. I wasn't sleeping. I was anxious constantly. Every phone call made my heart race. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. in a panic, wondering what other debt might surface. I started seeing a therapist who specialized in trauma. You've been victimized by someone you trusted, she said. That's a profound betrayal. It's normal to feel angry, anxious. I feel like I'm the one being punished, I said. Melissa committed the crime, but I'm the one whose life is destroyed. That's the reality of identity theft. The victim bears the burden of proof and restoration. It's deeply unjust. Melissa's lawyer reached out through Rebecca. My client is willing to plead guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence. She admit to all charges and agree to restitution. But she's asking for probation instead of prison time. Rebecca looked at me. It's your call. If she pleads guilty, that makes clearing your credit much easier. But probation means she avoids prison. What does restitution mean? She'd be ordered to pay back the fraudulent debt. Though realistically, she'll never be able to pay back $400,000. She'll probably pay $50 or $100. a month for the rest of her life, and never make a dent. So either way, I don't get made whole financially. Correct. This is about justice and credit restoration, not financial recovery. I thought about what I wanted. Did I want Melissa in prison? Did I want her to suffer the way I'd suffered? Honestly, yes, I did. But I also wanted this to be over. I wanted to start rebuilding my life. What sentence would she get with the plea deal? Probably 5 years probation, community service, and restitution. And without the plea deal, if convicted at trial, probably 3 to 5 years in federal prison. I thought about Melissa in prison. Would that make me feel better? Would that restore what she'd taken from me? No, nothing would restore that. But it might prevent her from doing this to someone else. No deal, I said. We go to trial. The trial took place 8 months after Melissa's arrest. It lasted 3 days. The prosecution presented the mountain of evidence we'd compiled. Rebecca testified as my expert witness, walking the jury through each fraudulent account. I testified about discovering the fraud, about the damage to my credit, about the daily collections, calls, and the apartments I couldn't rent. Melissa's lawyer tried to paint her as a desperate woman who made bad choices out of love for her children. She had 2 kids by this point that I'd never met. He emphasized that she'd never meant to hurt me, that family should forgive family. But the evidence was overwhelming. The jury deliberated for less than 2 hours, guilty on all counts. At sentencing, the judge was harsh. "Ms. Richardson," he said, addressing Melissa, "you committed a systematic, prolonged fraud against your own sister. This wasn't a momentary lapse in judgment. This was a decade of calculated criminal behavior. You showed no remorse even when caught, and you attempted to manipulate your family into protecting you from consequences. I'm sentencing you to 4 years in federal prison, followed by 5 years supervised release. You'll be ordered to pay restitution of $412,000, though I recognize you'll likely never pay that amount. Perhaps prison will give you time to reflect on the damage you've caused." Melissa cried. My mother wailed. My father glared at me like I'd personally put Melissa in handcuffs. I felt empty, not vindicated, not satisfied, just tired. With Melissa's conviction, clearing my credit became much easier. The criminal conviction was proof of fraud that even the most skeptical creditors had to accept. Over the next year, I systematically disputed and removed every fraudulent account. My credit score slowly climbed from 498 to 620, then to 710. I was able to rent a better apartment, finance a decent car, open new credit cards. My financial life wasn't completely restored. A bankruptcy or identity theft flag stays on your credit report for 7 years, but it was manageable. Collections calls stopped. The constant anxiety eased. I started sleeping through the night again, but the family damage was permanent. My parents didn't speak to me for the first 2 years of Melissa's incarceration. I wasn't invited to family holidays. When I reached out, my calls went unanswered. My extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, took sides. Most took Melissa's side, viewing me as the cruel sister who'd sent her sibling to prison over money problems. Only my maternal grandmother understood. "Your mom is blind when it comes to Melissa," Grandma Jean told me. "Always has been. But you did the right thing, baby. Sometimes love means holding people accountable." I don't feel like I did the right thing. I feel like I destroyed my family. Melissa destroyed the family when she stole from you. You just refused to keep the secret. Melissa served 3 years of her 4-year sentence before being released on good behavior. She went to a halfway house. My mother called me for the first time in years. "Your sister is out. She wants to see you, to apologize." Does she want to apologize? Silence. "Mom, I need to know this is coming from her, not from you making her do it. She's working on herself. She's been in therapy. She wants to make amends. I'll think about it." I talked to my therapist. Do I owe her the opportunity to apologize? You don't owe her anything, Natalie. The question is, would hearing her apology help you heal? Or would it reopen wounds? I didn't know the answer. Melissa wrote me a letter. Dear Natalie, I know you probably don't want to hear from me. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. But I'm writing anyway because my therapist says I need to take accountability for what I did. I stole from you. I lied to you. I destroyed your credit and put you through hell. And I did it all while you were helping me, trusting me, being a good sister. There's no excuse. I was selfish, entitled, and desperate. I told myself it wasn't really stealing because we were family, because I'd pay you back someday, because you had more than me and should share. But that's all bullshit. I stole from you because it was easy and I didn't think I'd get caught. Prison gave me a lot of time to think, to realize how much I'd hurt you, to understand that my actions destroyed not just your credit, but your trust, your relationship with our family. I'm sorry. I know that's not enough. I know I can never undo the damage, but I'm sorry anyway. I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not asking for a relationship. I just want you to know that I finally understand how wrong I was. Melissa. I read the letter 3 times. It sounded genuine. Or maybe I just wanted it to be genuine. I wrote back, Melissa, thank you for the letter. I appreciate you taking accountability. I don't think I'm ready to see you yet. Maybe someday, but not now. The wounds are still too fresh. What I need you to know is this. What you did almost destroyed me. Not just financially, but emotionally. You were my sister, someone I trusted completely. And you betrayed that trust in the worst possible way. I spent years questioning myself, wondering if I was wrong to prosecute you, wondering if I was being vindictive, losing relationships with family members who thought I was cruel. But I've come to understand, you gave me no choice. The only way to clear my name was to hold you accountable. That wasn't cruelty. That was survival. I hope you've genuinely changed. I hope you never do this to anyone else. And I hope someday we can have some kind of relationship again. But right now, I need distance. Natalie, that was 2 years ago. Melissa and I have had limited contact since the occasional texts on birthdays. Brief conversations at family events I occasionally attend. My relationship with my parents is better, but still strained. They've apologized for not believing me, for defending Melissa, for making me feel like the villain. We just couldn't accept that one of our daughters would do that to the other, Mom said. It was easier to believe you were overreacting than to accept that Melissa had done something so terrible. But in protecting her, you abandoned me. I know, and I'm sorry. The apology helped, but it didn't erase the years of feeling unsupported and blamed. I'm 40 years old now. My credit score is 780 higher than it was before Melissa destroyed it. I've bought a small townhouse. Getting that mortgage was a triumph after everything. I have savings, retirement accounts, a stable life. But I'm also hypervigilant about my financial identity. I check my credit report monthly. I have fraud alerts permanently on my accounts. I use identity theft protection services. I've frozen my credit with all 3 bureaus, and I don't trust especially family. I've become an advocate for identity theft victims, particularly those victimized by family members. I speak at workshops, write blog posts, connect people with resources. The response has been overwhelming. Hundreds of people have reached out with similar stories. My brother stole my identity and bought 3 cars. My parents told me not to prosecute him. My mother opened credit cards in my name when I was a teenager. I didn't find out until I tried to buy a house at age 28. My ex-husband ruined my credit during our marriage. I'm still trying to recover 5 years later. Familial identity theft is shockingly common, but rarely discussed. Victims feel ashamed, guilty for prosecuting family members, pressured to keep it in the family. But keeping it in the family just means the victim suffers in silence, while the criminal faces no consequences. My message to other victims is simple. It's not your fault. You didn't cause this. Prosecuting a family member who committed a crime against you is not betrayal. It's You deserve to have your identity, your credit, and anyone who tells you to forgive and forget without accountability is prioritizing the criminal over the victim. Last month, Melissa called me. Nat, I have something to tell you. I'm pregnant again. Fourth kid. Congratulations. I know things are still weird between us, but I want my kids to know their aunt. I want to rebuild our relationship. For real this time. Melissa, I appreciate that, but rebuilding trust takes time. You can't just decide we're good now because you want your kids to have an aunt. I know. I'm willing to put in the work, therapy, whatever you need. What I need is time. And for you to accept that our relationship will never be what it was. You destroyed that. We might build something new, but the old relationship is gone. I understand. We'll see. Maybe we can rebuild something. Maybe not. Either way, I'm no longer willing to sacrifice my well-being for family peace. If you've read this far, thank you for witnessing my story. If you're a victim of identity theft, especially by a family member, please know. Report it. Document everything. Keep records of all fraudulent accounts, communications, everything. Freeze your credit. Contact all 3 credit bureaus and freeze your credit reports. File an FTC identity theft affidavit at identitytheft.gov. Dispute fraudulent accounts with each creditor individually. Consider pressing charges. It's the fastest way to clear your name. I know pressing charges against family feels impossible. I know you'll face pressure to handle it privately. No, people will call you vindictive, cruel, unforgiving. But you're not any of those things. You're a victim of a crime. And criminal civil family members need to face consequences. Your story matters. Your financial well-being matters. Your peace of mind matters. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. With solidarity, Natalie Marie Richardson. I'm 43 now. 3 years since I last updated this story, and a lot has changed. My credit score is 815. I was promoted to senior accountant at my firm. I'm financially stable in a way. I never thought I'd be after everything that happened, but more importantly, I've found peace. Last year, something unexpected happened. I got a call from a woman named Ashley, Ms. Richardson. You don't know me. I think I'm a victim of the same person who victimized you. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? Your sister Melissa. She's been dating my brother for the past year. Last month, I discovered she'd been using his identity to open credit cards. When I confronted her, she ran. I found your story online while researching familial identity theft. The details were too similar to be coincidence. Melissa had done it again, after prison, after therapy. After promising she'd changed, she'd found a new victim and resumed the same pattern. Have you filed a police report? I asked. Yes, but she's disappeared. The police think she might have fled the state. I'm so sorry this happened to your brother. Is there anything I can do to help? Would you be willing to testify if we find her? Your case would establish a pattern of behavior. Absolutely. They found Melissa 3 months later in Tennessee, living under a fake name. She'd opened accounts in her boyfriend's name totaling over. This time, she couldn't claim it was a one-time mistake. She was a repeat offender. I testified at her trial via video conference. Seeing her face on the screen older now, harder, I felt an unexpected emotion, pity. Melissa was 41 years old, facing her second prison sentence, having destroyed multiple people's lives, including her own. Her 4 children were being raised by our parents, who were in their 70s and exhausted. Why does she keep doing this? The prosecutor asked me on the stand. I think because it's easy, I said. Identity theft gives you access to money and resources without doing the work to earn them. And if the victim is someone who loves you, a romantic partner, they're less likely to prosecute. It's the perfect crime until it isn't. Do you believe your sister is capable of change? I thought about that carefully. I believe anyone is capable of change, but I also believe my sister has shown, repeatedly, that she chooses not to change. She chooses the easy path, the criminal path, every time. Melissa was convicted again. This time, the judge gave her a harsher sentence because she was a repeat offender who'd violated her parole. My mother called me after the sentencing, crying, "I can't believe this is happening again." She promised me she'd changed. Mom, she promised all of us. But promises without action are meaningless. What am I going to do? I'm 74 years old, raising 4 grandchildren while their mother is in prison. For a moment I felt the old pull, the urge to fix things, to help, to sacrifice my own well-being for family. But I'd learned that lesson the hard way. Mom, I can't help you raise Melissa's children. I know that sounds harsh, but I have boundaries now. I'll visit occasionally. I'll send birthday presents. But I can't be the solution to Melissa's consequences. I understand, she said quietly. I don't like it, but I understand. My father reached out separately, asking if we could meet for coffee. We met at a Starbucks near my office. Dad looked older than I remembered, grayer, more tired. He ordered black coffee and sat across from me, silent for a long moment. I owe you a real apology, he finally said. Not the half-hearted one I gave you years ago, a real one. Okay. Your mother and I failed you. We enabled Melissa her entire life, and when she committed a serious crime against you, we chose her over you. We made you the villain for holding her accountable. That was wrong, deeply wrong, and I'm sorry. Tears pricked my eyes. Thank you for saying that. I've been going to therapy, trying to understand why I was so blind to Melissa's behavior. My therapist thinks it's because admitting Melissa is a criminal means admitting we failed as parents. It was easier to blame you than to face our own failure. You didn't fail entirely as parents. You raised me, and I turned out okay. Because you raised yourself, you parented yourself. And that's another thing, I'm sorry for making you be the responsible one all the time. While we coddled Melissa, we talked for 2 hours, really talked, in a way we never had before. Dad told me about the financial strain of raising 4 grandchildren on a fixed income, about his fear that history was repeating itself, that Melissa's children would grow up to either be victims like me or criminals like her. What can I do to break the cycle? He asked. Therapy for the kids, all of them, so they can process their mother's abandonment and their grandmother's enabling, and boundaries, actual consequences when they misbehave. Don't repeat the mistakes you made with Melissa. Will you be part of their lives? The kids, I mean. I'll be their aunt. I'll visit, send presents, show up for important events. But I won't be their parent. That's your job now, and I'm sorry you have to do it at your age. But those are consequences of Melissa's choices, not my responsibility. Dad nodded. That's fair. I started a support group for victims of familial identity theft. We meet monthly at a community center in Charlotte. Usually about 15 to 20 people attend, mostly women, mostly victimized by siblings, children, or romantic partners. At one meeting, a woman named Carol shared her story. Her daughter had stolen her identity to finance a drug addiction, running up $60,000 in debt before Carol discovered it. My friends tell me I should prosecute, Carol said, crying, but she's my daughter. How do I send my own child to prison? An older woman named Ruth responded, I didn't prosecute my son. I thought I was being compassionate. You know what happened? He did it again. To his sister, then to his wife. He didn't stop because I'd taught him there were no consequences. But I love her, Carol said. Love doesn't mean accepting abuse, I interjected gently. You can love someone and still hold them accountable. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. The group has become my way of turning pain into purpose. Every person I help, every victim who learns they're not alone, it gives meaning to what I went through. I recently started dating someone. His name is Marcus, not the same Marcus from Melissa's past. I made sure of that. He's an engineer, divorced, kind, and patient. On our 3rd date, I told him about the identity theft, about Melissa, about the destroyed credit. I understand if this is too much baggage, I said. I come with a complicated family situation. Everyone has baggage, he said. At least yours is unpacked and dealt with. My ex-wife cheated on me with my best friend. And I spent 2 years in therapy, working through trust issues. We're all healing from something. You're not worried? I'm going to be paranoid about you having access to my personal information. He laughed. Are you going to be paranoid? Maybe a little. I have a credit monitoring service that alerts me to any new accounts or inquiries. I freeze my credit when I'm not actively using it. I'm basically a fortress of financial privacy. That sounds healthy, actually. Like you learned from experience and set appropriate boundaries. I appreciated that he saw my caution as strength rather than damage. 6 months into our relationship, Marcus asked to meet my family. I warned him extensively about what he was getting into. My parents are lovely, but emotionally exhausting. They'll probably overshare about Melissa and the grandkids. My grandmother will interrogate you about your intentions, and there will be awkward silence about certain topics. Natalie, I'm 45 years old. I can handle awkward family dynamics. The dinner went better than expected. My parents were welcoming, if a bit reserved. Grandma Jean grilled Marcus about his job, his previous marriage, his intentions with me, but she did it with humor and warmth. At one point, Mom pulled me aside in the kitchen. He seems nice, really nice. He is. Are you happy? Yeah, Mom, I am. Good. You deserve happiness, Natalie. I know I haven't always shown it, but I'm proud of you. Of how you survived everything and built a good life. That moment, my mother's quiet acknowledgement more than any apology. Last month, I received a letter from Melissa. She's 3 years into her 8-year sentence. Dear Natalie, I don't expect you to respond to this. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't even know why I'm writing. Except that my therapist says, I need to take accountability without expecting anything in return. I destroyed your life. Twice, if you count testifying at my second trial. You've had every reason to cut me off completely, to never speak to me again. But you didn't. You testified truthfully, which helped convict me, but you also testified fairly. You didn't embellish. You didn't make me out to be a monster. You told the truth. Prison is different this time. The first time, I felt like a victim, like everyone was against me, like life was unfair. This time, I know I'm here because of my own choices. I'm in a program for people with financial crime addictions. Yes, that's apparently a thing. The counselor says I used theft as a coping mechanism for feeling inadequate, that I chased the high of getting away with something, of having access to money and things I couldn't afford on my own. None of that excuses what I did. Understanding why I did it doesn't undo the damage. I'm writing because I want you to know you were right to prosecute me, both times. I'm a danger to people I love, and I needed to be stopped. I hope you're happy. I hope you've built a beautiful life, and I hope someday, when I get out, I can show you that I've actually changed this time. But I understand if you never want to see me again, Melissa. I showed the letter to Marcus. What do you think? I think she sounds genuine, but she sounded genuine before, too. Exactly. The question isn't whether she's changed. The question is whether you want to find out. I thought about that. Did I want a relationship with Melissa again? Did I want to risk being disappointed, being hurt? Or was I content with the life I'd built, a life that didn't include her? I haven't responded to the letter yet. Maybe I will. Maybe I won't, for now. I'm holding space for the possibility of reconciliation without rushing toward it. My friend from the support group, the one whose daughter stole her identity, asked me recently, do you regret prosecuting your sister? No, I regret that it was necessary. I regret that she made choices that forced me to choose between my financial survival and my family relationships. But I don't regret standing up for myself. Even knowing it meant years of estrangement from your family. Even knowing that. Because the alternative was letting her destroy me while pretending everything was fine. That's not love. That's self-erasure. I'm teaching a class at the community college now. Personal finance and identity protection. It's a night class, mostly attended by older adults who never learned financial literacy. Last week, a woman in her 60s raised her hand. My son keeps asking me for money. Says it's for bills, but I think he's spending it on drugs. He knows my PIN number and has access to my accounts. Should I be worried? Yes, I said firmly. Change your PIN immediately. Consider freezing him out of your accounts. And if you suspect drug addiction, get him help but protect your assets first. But he's my son. I understand. But your financial security matters too. You can love someone and still have boundaries. After class, she approached me. Can I ask you something personal? In your situation with your sister, you wish you'd handled it differently? I wish it hadn't happened at all. But given that it did, I did what I had to do to survive and rebuild. That's not something to regret.